If you clicked on this video, it was not by chance. Something guided you here, and at a deeper level, you already understand why. You are standing on the edge of something enormous, something that feels impossible and perhaps even frightening. Right now, it may feel as if everything inside you is falling apart. But consider this: what if this moment, exactly as it is not the collapse you believe it to be? Carl Jung devoted his life to studying moments like this. What he discovered has the power to change how you understand what is about to unfold in your life. Because what seems unimaginable is not a miracle. It is a psychological process, and you are already moving through it. You are stuck, but not in the usual sense where motivation, discipline, or a new routine would be enough. You are stuck in a way that feels final, as if every option is closed and every direction leads to nothing. You have exhausted every solution your rational mind can offer. You have planned carefully, worked harder, adjusted your strategy, sought guidance, and still nothing has changed. The situation you are facing refuses to move. And the most difficult part is this: you can no longer picture a way forward. That is the signal. That is how you recognize that something unimaginable is approaching. Jung uncovered something that most people never realize. The unimaginable only begins when the rational mind reaches its end. Not because logic fails, but because it has gone as far as it can. The conscious mind can only operate using what it already understands: familiar patterns, past experiences, and previously tested solutions. But the challenge you are facing now demands something beyond that. It requires access to what your conscious mind cannot reach. It requires the unconscious. This is what Jung observed repeatedly in his clinical work. When a person finds themselves caught between two opposing forces, desperately seeking change while reality keeps them stuck, something remarkable begins to happen. The unconscious mind starts producing what Jung called a third thing. This is not a compromise between the two opposites, not a middle ground, but a completely new solution that the logical mind could never invent. Jung called this the transcendent function, and it is the psychological mechanism behind every breakthrough that once seemed impossible. Think about it: every time someone achieves the unimaginable, the pattern is always the same. They were stuck. They tried everything. Nothing worked. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, a solution appears that no one anticipated. It's not luck, it's not coincidence, it's the transcendent function. But here's the crucial point: Jung discovered the transcendent function only activates when the conscious mind lets go. As long as you are still trying to control or figure everything out, the unconscious cannot do its work. The unimaginable requires surrender, releasing your expectations of how things should happen. And this is why it often feels like a breakdown, because surrender feels like death to the ego. You may have noticed signs along the way, even if you didn't understand them. Jung documented specific psychological signals that appear just before an unimaginable breakthrough. If you recognize these signs, you're closer than you think. The first sign is vivid dreams. Not ordinary dreams, but ones so intense they linger throughout the day. Dreams that feel more real than waking life, where you are lost, falling, or confronting something terrifying. Jung understood that these dreams are not random. They are the unconscious preparing you for transformation. Your psyche is rehearsing the death of your old identity so the new one can emerge. The second sign is intense resistance. Life feels heavy. Getting out of bed is a struggle. Decisions take extraordinary effort. Tasks that once felt simple now demand tremendous energy. This isn't depression, though it may feel similar. It is the ego resisting the inevitable change. It senses that something transformative is coming and fights to maintain control. This resistance is the final stand of your old identity before it collapses. The third sign is the collapse of old plans. Projects you worked on for months or years suddenly fail. Jobs disappear, relationships end, nothing seems to make sense. You followed the rules, did everything right, and yet it falls apart. Jung would say, this is not failure. This is clearing. The unconscious is breaking down everything that blocks the emergence of the unimaginable. It is creating space. You might think, that sounds frightening. And you are right, it is frightening, because the unimaginable is never comfortable. It does not ask for permission. It does not wait until you feel ready. It arrives when your old life has become so unbearable that your unconscious has no choice but to step in. Consider a case that illustrates this pattern perfectly. This dynamic is evident in the story of a businessman whose psychological journey reflects Jung's theories. This composite example, drawn from patterns Jung repeatedly observed, involves someone who felt that his life had ended. He had lost his business. His marriage was failing. He had no idea what to do next. He felt as though he was dying, and Joseph's documented response to such situations was striking. You are dying. The person you used to be is dying, and that is exactly what needs to happen. Joseph explained that people experiencing this pattern are not in crisis, they are undergoing transformation. For years, the unconscious had been trying to signal for attention through dreams, symptoms, and feelings of restlessness. But these signs are often ignored because people are too busy maintaining the life they think they should have. So the unconscious does what it always does when neglected. It dismantles that life. In examples like this, we see what happens next. The person stops trying to fix things. They stop planning. They stop forcing solutions. Empaths aren't broken, they are alchemists in progress. The alchemist's path provides exercises, Joseph-based guidance, and 3 exclusive chapter videos to transform overwhelm into clarity, brought to you by Surreal Mind. The 236-page downloadable ebook is available now at surrealmind.com, and then something remarkable occurs. Dreams begin to appear, pointing to possibilities that had never been considered before. These may lead to entirely new directions, creative pursuits, or careers that seem illogical based on past experience, but the vision keeps returning. Eventually, the impulse is followed. A new venture begins. Guided by this deep, unconscious wisdom, success follows surprisingly quickly. Over time, expansion occurs. The unimaginable unfolds. But here's the key point. The conscious mind didn't make this happen. It could not have. Logic alone would never have produced this solution. It emerges through the transcendent function, and only after surrender has taken place. You are in the same process right now. Your old life is ending, not because of failure, but because it has fulfilled its purpose. The person you have been is no longer large enough for who you are about to become. That is why everything feels impossible. You're attempting to solve a new challenge with an old identity. It won't work. The unimaginable demands a new version of you. Jung identified the psychological pattern that accompanies every transformation. First comes conflict. Opposing forces collide within you. You desire change but fear it. You wish to let go yet cannot. This creates immense tension, as though 2 forces are pulling you apart. Most people try to resolve this tension by choosing a side. They either force change or surrender entirely. Both approaches fail. The transcendent function activates only when you hold both opposites simultaneously. When you can admit, I want change, and I am afraid of it, both are true. Or, I don't know what to do, yet I trust something is unfolding, both are true. This is psychological alchemy. You aren't eliminating tension, you are learning to contain it. When you can sustain the tension without breaking, a shift occurs. The unconscious begins generating images, ideas, and impulses that your logical mind could never produce. You might wake up with sudden clarity on something that has confused you for months. You might meet someone who says exactly what you needed to hear. You might come across information that changes your perspective entirely. These are not coincidences, they are the transcendent function at work. But here's what many miss: the solutions the unconscious provides will never appear as you expect. They will not follow logic. They may seem illogical to others. They might even frighten you, because the unimaginable is not merely a solution, it is a new identity. And becoming a new person always involves sacrifice. Jung was fascinated by sacrifice. He studied ancient myths, religious texts, and alchemical manuscripts, seeking to understand what true transformation demands. He discovered the same pattern everywhere. Transformation always requires sacrifice, not of external things like comfort or money, but the sacrifice of who you believe you should be. You carry an image of yourself, an identity shaped over years or decades. This is who you think you are. This is my practice. This is my belief. This sense of identity feels like it defines you. But Jung would argue that identity is not truly you. It is a construct, a persona you built to navigate the world, and it served its purpose for a time. But now it has become too limited. The unimaginable cannot fit within your current identity, so that identity must dissolve. This is why the process often feels like a breakdown, because it is a breakdown of the false self so the authentic self can emerge. A breakdown of the life you thought you were meant to lead, making space for the life you are actually meant to live. And this breakdown is unavoidable. You cannot bypass it or take a shortcut. The path to the unimaginable passes only through the death of your former self. Here is another illustrative example that demonstrates this principle. Jung's therapeutic approach is highlighted in a composite case of someone who felt utterly lost, a pattern that recurs throughout analytical psychology. The individual had followed all the conventional rules: marriage, children, social expectations, appearances, but felt internally dead, disconnected from their true identity. Jung's pivotal therapeutic question in such cases was profound. Who were you before you became who you thought you should be? According to his clinical observations, this question often sparks breakthrough moments. People recognize they have spent much of their adult life living for external expectations, parents, partners, community, sacrificing their genuine self to fit in. Years later, they may no longer even know what their true self desires. To address this, Jung employed a method called active imagination. This involved daily periods of quiet reflection, allowing images and emotions to surface from the unconscious without judgment or control. Initially, resistance may appear, but gradually memories emerge. Memories of the authentic self that existed before social conditioning took hold. People remember the activities they loved, the ways they expressed themselves, and the states of being that made them feel alive. In case studies that follow this pattern, individuals gradually reclaim these lost parts of themselves. They return to creative practices not for recognition or accomplishment, but because it feels authentic. They express themselves not for external approval, but because something inside needs to emerge, and transformation naturally occurs. Depression eases. Relationships improve as resentment fades. Others feel safer because pretense has ended. The impossible becomes possible. People simply become themselves. Yet, Jung emphasized in his writings that planning does not produce these outcomes. Goal setting does not enforce transformation. What matters is creating space for the unconscious to communicate. And when that space exists, the unconscious provides the solution. The transcendent function restores authenticity. This is what is happening to you right now. You are being compelled to create space. The collapse of your plans, the loss of control, the sense that nothing is working, all of this is clearing room. Room for something new to emerge. Room for the unimaginable to happen. But you must stop resisting. Stop forcing solutions from your old identity. Learn to sit with the unknown without panic. This is the most challenging part because everything in you wants to regain control. Every part wants to make a plan, fix the problem, or push an outcome. But forcing it only delays the process. Jung called this state active patience, not passive waiting where you give up and do nothing. Active patience means staying present, observing carefully, following small impulses as they arise, but not forcing results. You trust the process, even when you cannot see the destination. Consider a seed in the ground. It has no knowledge that it will grow into a tree. It cannot see the future. It simply responds to its surroundings. It splits open an experience that must feel like death. Roots extend into darkness. Shoots push toward a light it has never encountered. Eventually, it transforms into something completely different from what it once was. That is your current state. You are the seed splitting open, and it feels like a part of you is dying. Yet what is emerging is far greater than you can imagine. Here lies the paradox. Jung discovered the unimaginable does not occur to you. It occurs through you. You are not a passive observer awaiting a miracle. You are the vessel through which the unconscious creates something new. But you can only serve as this vessel if you stop trying to control the outcome. This is where most people stumble. They get this far in the process and then stop sensing the subtle shifts. They notice the signs and immediately panic. They attempt to take control, to force things to happen faster, to shape the unimaginable into something their logical mind can comprehend, and in doing so, the process halts. The unimaginable requires trust. Not blind faith, but a psychological trust. Trust that your unconscious knows what it's doing. Trust that the process carries wisdom even when it seems hidden. Trust that what feels like a breakdown is actually a breakthrough in disguise. Let me be clear, this is not easy. Trusting the process while everything appears to be falling apart goes against every instinct. Your ego will scream at you to seize control. Your fear will insist that if you do nothing, nothing will happen. Your doubt will whisper that this is all nonsense, that you are just excusing failure. But Jung understood something your fear does not. The unconscious is not here to destroy you, it is here to save you. It seeks to free you from a life that was never truly yours and guide you toward the life you were always meant to live. Yet it cannot give you that life while you cling to the old one. The question is not whether the unimaginable will happen, it will. The question is whether you will allow it to happen. Will you surrender? Will you stop resisting? Will you trust the process even when it defies logic? Here is what Jung discovered through decades of clinical experience. Those who achieve the unimaginable are not inherently special, lucky, more talented, or more deserving. They are simply the ones who surrendered. They stopped trying to control the outcome and allowed the transcendent function to work. You are one of those people. You might not feel it now. You may feel lost, confused, or like you have no direction. But that exact state is the precursor to the unimaginable. Confusion is not a signal of being on the wrong path. It indicates that the old path has ended and the new one has yet to emerge. You are in the gap, and that is where transformation occurs. Jung said that the greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Yet most people never claim this privilege because it demands sacrifice, letting go of who they think they should be, trusting what cannot be seen, stepping into the unknown without a map. You are being offered that privilege right now. This moment, this impossible situation, this sense that everything is falling apart. This is your invitation. It is the call to become who you truly are, not who your parents wanted, not who society expects, not who you thought you had to be to survive. The person you truly are is capable of the unimaginable, not because you are extraordinary, but because you are finally aligned with the deepest truth of your being. When you stop living from the ego and start living from the self, miracles become natural. Not because the universe owes you favors, but because you are allowing life to flow through you rather than forcing it. The unimaginable is not out there waiting for you, it is already within you, ready to unfold. The unimaginable already exists within you, waiting for you to step aside. Your role isn't to force it into being, it's to make room for it to emerge. You do this through surrender, trust, active patience, and holding the tension of uncertainty. This moment is the breakthrough disguised as a breakdown. It is the ending that leads to a new beginning. The situation that seems impossible is actually the doorway to the unimaginable, and you are ready. Even if you don't feel ready, being here, being part of this process proves you are. The fear you experience is not a signal to stop, it's the friction of growth. It's the ego resisting its own transformation. Let it resist, let it panic, let it scream, but don't let it control you. On the other side of that fear lies everything you've ever wanted, the life you were meant to live, the person you were meant to become. Jung spent his life showing that the unimaginable is not magic, it's psychology. It's the natural outcome of aligning with the unconscious, surrendering control, and trusting the transcendent function. You are already in that process. So here's what you need to do: stop overthinking, stop forcing solutions, stop making plans based on your old self. Instead, get quiet, pay attention. Follow the small impulses that arise from deeper than your conscious mind. Trust your dreams, the coincidences, the collapse itself. The collapse is not the end, it's a clearing. And what is being cleared is space for the unimaginable to emerge. You are not losing your life. You are shedding what was never truly yours, so you can finally live the life that is. This isn't motivation or positive thinking. It's the result of Jung's lifetime of research into true transformation. If you are feeling this, you are already on the path. The unimaginable isn't coming, it's already here. You only need to stop resisting it. The person you are about to become cannot yet be imagined. If you could picture it, it wouldn't be the unimaginable. Stop trying to see the future or control the outcome. Take the next small step, then the next, and trust that the path will form beneath your feet, even if you can't see it. You are more powerful than you realize. Within you is the entire unconscious, the source of all creativity, wisdom, and transformation. Right now it is working on your behalf, producing solutions your conscious mind could never find, creating breakthroughs your logical thinking cannot achieve. Your only task is to step aside. This is your moment, your breakthrough, the unimaginable pulling itself through you. All you must do is trust. In the alchemist's path, perception training for empaths, overwhelm is transformed into wisdom through practical exercises, Jung-inspired boundaries, and step-by-step perception training. The guide includes 3 exclusive video chapters to deepen each lesson. Written by Surreal Mind, 236 pages, beautifully designed 8.5x11, downloadable ebook available now. Begin your training today. Feel deeply while thinking clearly.